welcome to the EWG Mercury Talk Show. I'll be the moderator today. I'm Brendan Quigley, and we have today's show is on technology and its effect on our daily lives and society. But we have a great panel today. I'm going to start by introducing yourselves.
Bob Quindazzi, I'm a history teacher at the high school.
Tom Mastriani, business media technology.
I'm Mr. Rounds, I'm the media teacher here at the high school.
Art Sorrell, I'm a teacher here at the district level for integrating technology.
Mitch Dampier, I'm a senior here at the high school.
To start off the show, we're going to take a spin on social media on the technology part. And one question I wanted to ask, what has social media allowed us to do as a society that we couldn't do before? And what do you see some benefits and some negative aspects of it? And it's an open-ended question.
We all know what we're having for lunch today, what everybody's eating for lunch, and what they've had for breakfast.
Does anyone have anything else about social media?
Well, the thing I like the most, and I think is most important about social media, is the democratization of information. That information is spread rapidly, sometimes erroneously, but most often not rapidly. You can find out that things that are going on almost instantaneously in the world, and it has allowed people to, it prevented people from trying to hoard information and keep it away from others. Just for example, many examples of protest movements and almost revolutionary movements were run through social media. In the Middle East is one example, and the protest movements against police brutality in the United States. Those are all run right through social media.
Do you think the advancement of social media is kind of hurting our generation, or is it benefiting it?
I think it's changing it. I don't know if it's, at this point we can look and say it's hurting or hindering. I think it's kind of both. In one aspect, information is now freely available for the most part, at least in our realm, which is good. But it opens up for people in your generation, in your age group right now, a whole nother level of ability to harass people. And then the other thing too is that it shortens the news cycle. So something that should be in the news for more than 12 hours because it's so important no longer is, because something else has come up that's taken its place. So some things that probably need some deeper investigation, they disappear because something else has happened quickly.
So I'm going to harken back to, I think, what you were getting at when you said it. I know what everyone's having for breakfast or lunch. When you go onto a Facebook or even Twitter, some of the information out there, and I've always said this, Facebook to me is for the either the vain or the insecure, because the information that's out there, don't take this wrong, I don't care what you ate last night for dinner, and you have it set. I was here. I think the important information, as you're pointing to, is often lost in the minutia of where people ate and what they did, and this is a picture of my dog. And I'll be honest with you, I stay away from Facebook for that reason.
Mitch, do you have anything to say?
I do. I think that as a whole, and socially, when you no longer have the internet and Facebook and Twitter, you can message someone that you have a crush on or something, and you miss that actually being there and talking to the person. You can go on the internet and just not even see their face and just talk to them, and it kind of just.
Do you think that could be good for the
It's
growing world?
good and bad for certain people. I feel like people who are nervous, it kind of helps them out, but it could be bad because it's a skill to learn to be able to talk to people in their being actually there. But
Yeah.
I just watched a TED Talks that's kind of on that topic, and it's this woman ran this survey, and she surveyed high school students and about how their social interactions occur, and she observed her daughter having a party with everybody on their phones, talking to each other without interacting, and then she gave her the idea to run the survey, and she surveyed this class, and they decided, what class needs to be taught in high school that never would have been taught before, and students responded, a class on how to have a conversation in real life. That students thought they needed a class in that because it's no longer something they learn how to do on their own. And while it helps the nervous people to have to kind of be online and not face-to-face, you never get over that if you never get experience doing it. And I found that to be pretty interesting.
Well, one question I wanted to ask: as the presence of technology increases, like in our society, what kind of problems could come along with that, and how do you think our society will adjust to the increased presence of technology?
Even beyond social media.
Yeah, beyond social media.
Well, I know it's something we're planning to get into in the second half of the show, a little bit more detail, but it goes back to the old Detroit model. People were putting cars together by hand at one point, and now robots are putting the cars together to the point where Detroit now is an empty, basically an empty city. And what's happening now is technology is taking the place of where human beings were doing things. Technology is now doing that. So
In ways that we can't even begin to imagine. If I were a truck driver, I would be looking at Googles and BMWs and Mercedes and Fords self-driving cars with a lot of fear, because it will be a short leap between a self-driving car and a self-driving 18-wheeler. And so that would make me nervous. Deep Blue is already poised to offer better diagnosis for ailments than a physician can, because it can pull from such a vast pool of information that no human could really efficiently access or act on.
So it's very scary, but also kind of exciting as well, because people will always find something to do. So, we're moving on for post-industrial now, and what will people, I think most people will be more in the kind of artistic realm, in other words, creative realm, rather than there will obviously be people who manufacture these robots and machines and whatnot, but that will be a limited subset of people, because now they have machines, they can design machines. But there is that aspect of creativity that maybe will push us forward into something hopefully
It's
new and
going to have
exciting.
to, and it's going to be disruptive in a major. I think the next decade you'll see a lot of disruption.
Well, those were some great points on social media and advancement of technology. We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be back after these. Hello, and welcome back to the EWG Mercury. Before we get started on the second half of the show, we're going to switch to a short video on virtual learning.
In our current education system, learning in a class is never carried into the home. As a result, students have to rely on expensive tuition classes or other learning methods. Apart from additional expenses, this becomes confusing for students with different inputs from various sources of learning. Presenting the Class Teacher Cloud. The Class Teacher Cloud uses the latest Web 2.0 tools for a two-way interaction between the student and the teacher. It ensures continuous, uninterrupted learning at school and home. The Class Teacher Cloud consists of the following: challenging and exciting activities, two-way interaction with real-life activities to ensure learning while having fun.
Over the years, how has technology changed the way we learn in schools? Anyone can really chime in.
It's been a gradual process, I think. There's obviously the mechanical differences, like in word processing and things like that. The obvious. I used to use a typewriter when I was in school. But really, the information dissemination is just so much different now. And as a history teacher, I often consider, am I teaching these kids facts? Okay, but they have access to literally almost anything they could in a device this big, a phone. So it's made me reconsider what I'm doing, in that, like, really what I need to teach them to do is how to make the correct inquiries and where to find the information, as opposed to I still present them with some information, obviously, but it's much more important that they know where to find stuff in a modern way, I guess, too. That's made me change as I've gone along. I'm not going to teach the kid how to go to the library and get an encyclopedia. Never going to happen, right?
Mr. Searle, do you have anything?
Yeah, even at its most basic level right now, you've got a lot of substitution going on. With Chromebooks and iPads that have come into the junior and senior high. teachers are using those to give a quiz, for example. It might be an online quiz, it's no longer paper or using a Scantron machine. So at its most basic level, there's a lot of substitution going on, but there are also pockets of adaptation and reinventing what education can be occurring too.
Mr. Masserani, do you think technology, how do you see technology advancing in the classroom as we go on?
I think it's going to be exponential growth. So as in our society, there's going to be first adapters that push the envelope and try new technologies that might not work out. And we have no idea what those will be. I mean, no idea. It could be you're on a screen and you're teaching to people all over the place, and it's no longer a town-centered school system. It is a regionalized school system or beyond, and we get more specialized. But in terms of, like Mr. Kudazzi was saying, what we teach and how we teach has to change, because we teach facts or even how-tos. That's kind of obsolete. No, you don't need us to do that. What you need teachers to do now is teach you how to teach yourself, how to explore, how to learn, and to get your mind to be inquisitive and really enjoy that. And I think that's where the role of teacher is going to move, and you still are going to need to be specialized in your subject area so you can help kids along the way, but it's more about creating that lifelong learner, way more than it ever was. Because even going back to what we were talking about in the first segment, where jobs are going to change, I mean, I could foresee where no one has the same career anymore for their entirety of their life, because the exponential growth and change of how technology works just won't allow that. You could do something for 20 years and all of a sudden that job doesn't exist. Well, you're 40 years old, you're not done, so you have to find a new job. And that's going to mean education for older people as well. And I think we need to create a society of lifelong learners that truly need that for survival as a country and society.
Mr. Rounds, as a teacher that deals with a lot of equipment and maybe some obsolete equipment, what is the fear of having obsolete devices and technology, and how does that how does that kind of change the way you maybe teach a class or kind of purchase equipment for a class?
Well, at the high school level, you're always working with a budget, and that's sort of a tenuous thing at best. What you can purchase and what you can afford to purchase. And the purchase that I made this year, as being in my class, I purchased a stripped down version of our editing software for Photoshop, simply because the cost of the full-blown Photoshop increased to a subscription rate which we couldn't afford. So we always have to be aware of that and researching that. If you don't mind, one of the things I want to talk about are the changes within the classroom, and I'm going to refer to you, Mitch, in a second, a student in the class. When the negative sides, goes back to our first half of the show, the negative sides of using Edgenuity that we use in this school, does it take away, again, that interaction between human beings where people are sitting in front of a computer screen at their desk alone and learning? And Mitch,
I don't think you're ever going to get an Edgenuity to replace an extraordinary teacher who can inspire and motivate with concrete examples and dig into students' individual needs or interests and fuel those. I think extraordinary teachers will always beat an Edgenuity at that.
Okay. But one of the things I would be fearful for is the fact that someone who's making a budgetary decision says, it's great to have you in the classroom, but I can do this.
We can get by with Edgenuity.
Right. And that's my fear.
But Edgenuity is not going to know that Mitch is really into video and really into IT and how to incorporate projects that are going to inspire Mitch and set Mitch free.
Well, from a student's point of view, Mitch.
Maybe
I feel like definitely the creativity and learning is going to change, like Mr. Searle was saying, and like you have Edgenuity, and then you have someone with a passion, and then they can't, I guess I'm trying to
inspired with technology, to learn more. I know you as a musician, how does technology kind of help you get your music out there, and how does that kind of affect how's that kind of changed, and how's technology help you as a musician?
Technology helps you as a musician because you can get your stuff out there and you can be seen more. But in order to do that, you have to kind of be known, which is kind of a bad thing, because you can have an artist with like good music, but they can only have like 20 views because they're not known yet, and that's kind of a downside of being a musician. But once you work your way up and you start getting a name for yourself, it helps you out a lot.
Does anyone have any closing comments on technology and where it's going in the world?
Can't put the genie back in the bottle.
No, you're right.
And who knows, right? I mean, just go back to what Saul talked about the Google cars. I'm reasonably certain that 20 years, I'm not driving my car on it anymore, right? There'll be people, there'll be a car that will drive itself.
And the Google drones are going, the Amazon drones are going to drop whatever you need at your, what's for supper tonight? And then,
It's caused another whole other uproar. So with all that, we're going to close the show. I want to thank all the guests for attending. This has been the UWG Mercury.